Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor. I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be starting to talk about something that I've mentioned a lot before, but which I've yet to really get around to, and that is when I first started coaching, the first sets of problems and things like that, and the work that I was doing and the things that I was interacting with more so than any other topic, any other subject, was in regards to relationships, mostly in regards to romantic relationships, but also in regards to kind of communication and the dynamics in other forms of relationship as well. So just a quick rundown, the five different types of relationship and what I kind of mean when I'm saying relationship here, because obviously that's in itself a fairly open word that means a lot of different things. But ultimately, in terms of relationship, when I use the word, it's probably going to mean the way in which two or more people or things or whatever else are connected and the state of them being connected. As said, most of what I've discussed with people, because it is such a core thing to a lot of people's lives, is romantic relationships. However, also, you've got the other four kinds of relationship, where you've got platonic relationship in regards to friends. You've got work and business relationships, either in regards to colleagues or in regards to people that you have to interact with through work. You've very much got kind of passing acquaintances or passing interactions and relationships with individuals. For example, the person that you might bump into um, over the counter at a coffee shop or something like that, whilst you're trying to get your morning coffee or something like that. And then the last one is possibly one of the more complex and interesting, which is relationship with family members, because obviously they're where you start and where you can either move away from or stick with, or any kind of level in between. But so those are what I mean when I'm saying relationship. But I'm saying uh, a lot of what I did early on, and to be fair, still a lot of what I do today, is talking about relationships and both with men and women, how to get into them, how to maintain them, how best to approach them and understand them, and as a result, people. I very much deal with what people want, and so what is it that's making these people come to me to talk to me about these various different types of relationship? Well, romantic relationships, obviously, they're a thing that most people want to some extent or another. As I've said in other videos, we are all in one way or another driven towards finding a partner as part of a survival mechanism, as part of a means by which to continue the species, and so on and so forth in its most base terms. I mean, obviously, people stack up their additional wants and needs on top of that, but that's very much the core. And as a result of that, it's a drive that a lot of people have, but it's also, especially in a world now where you do not have kind of well devised mechanisms through which to find a partner, or where there is an awful lot of to and fro, or people getting confused and not understanding because the role models that may have been there in the past, or may have just been the kind of general societal feelings around relationships that were there in the past, are no longer as prevalent for various reasons. And as a result, without the role models, without the education, without the what's the word I'm looking for? Without the observations that you can make as you see other people go through relationships, um, it's one of those things that leaves people kind of floundering, and that's one of the reasons they come to me for the reflection, for the clarity, for some of the ideas and things to bounce around, to talk through what they're doing and what they actually want. Because that is one of the things with coaching. A lot of people come to you and they'll say that they want one thing, and then as you discuss it, it turns out that that's what they thought they wanted, but it wasn't what they actually wanted, and it all, that's a very big mess in terms of romance and romantic relationships that kind of you roll through. But then, obviously, in regards to platonic relationships, where you're just dealing with friends, that can also be really troublesome and problematic for people. And you can learn an awful lot from those relationships, but also sometimes, as with romantic relationships, you can be very, very close to the problems, and as a result, think about looking at yourself in a mirror when your face is like that far from the glass. You don't get an awful lot of perspective. You don't see the whole picture. You don't, it's very hard for you to get into the minute detail as well as see the overall, just because everything becomes a bit blurry. But then work and business relationships, these are a tough one, because often you're going into that place of work, and you're dealing with colleagues, and you're dealing with people that customers and whoever else, who you don't really have a choice in interacting with. They just happen to be there, and they're who you need to deal with. And so those can be really, really difficult for a lot of people, especially when it's taking that kind of ensuring that professional distance is still in place, so that you don't get sucked in, drawn in, so that you're not taking offense, so it doesn't become more stressful than it needs to be. That's a tough thing. And then passing acquaintances, they're great. Randomly meeting people on the street, talking to people over the counters, whatever else. Some of those passing acquaintances, passing communications with other individuals, interactions, they can be, because they're as long as you're not actively committing crimes and things, those can be little test sites for what you want to do. You can walk in, you're probably never going to see that person ever again in your entire life to one degree or another, and as a result you can walk in, you can try out what you think you might want to do, a different set of behaviours, a different way of thinking, a different way of communicating with people, whatever, and then you can move on and you can assess what's just happened. How well you feel you were received, how comfortable you felt, all that kind of thing. They're great. And then relationship with family members, obviously this is a tough one again for a lot of people, because what it comes down to is you can't get rid of those people. There are very few ways for you to actively divorce yourself entirely from the family and the place that you came from, and it as a result, again, you can be very close to any problems or friction that's there, and it can become an issue. However, as said, the most common of all of these that people come to talk to me about are the romantic relationships, and the ultimate reason why is because it is a confusing mess. I mean, people are a confusing mess in general. You have an awful lot of discussion around whether or not these people meant this thing, and whether or not this was communicated well, or whatever else. It's become a real difficulty, because a lot of people are making big sweeping assumptions as a result of projecting their own thoughts onto other people, as I've covered in other videos. But in romantic relationships, there's always that fear, because there's so much judgment involved, especially for individuals who are trying to make the first move in initiating that kind of relationship. It can be really, really difficult, and there's a lot of pressure on that person, and that often isn't sympathised with to one degree or another, and they often put an awful lot, there's a lot of stress on them anyway. They know they're going to be judged, and as a result they start judging themselves, and they start making the whole situation worse for themselves, just by piling on the stress and the nerves and whatever else. And that's again where people come to talk to me about it. But as a result, over the next however long, because this is both in my mind now, it never used to be, but in my mind now, it's a very both simple, like stupidly simple, and also painfully complex topic. And as a result, I will be now that I've put my thoughts together in such a way, I've done an awful lot of work towards getting this ready to one degree or another. I've been working on this since before I actually first started posting videos on YouTube, in the hopes that then I would be able to put this together and actually help more people instead of, as said, dealing with individuals as they come to me one by one. Because a lot of this stuff is stuff that I wish I had been told when I was a kid, because as I've said, when I was a very young person, I was quiet, I was nervous, I was very wrapped up in my own head and all those thoughts, and I relied an awful lot of on my intelligence and my capacity to think my way through things, and especially when it comes to relationships and it's all emotion and there is very little rationality in various places, or at least it doesn't seem like there is, then that left me floundering. And it was only after I increased my level of confidence and had some other realizations and so on and so forth that I was then able to move forward in that kind of area. And there were some slip-ups and mishaps along the way, but every single one was a learning experience, and thanks to my capacity for learning and picking those things up, it's now got me to where I am today, where I can help other people. But it's not... One of the things that I've noticed an awful lot is that there are people out there who will have those similar negative experiences along the way, but they won't learn. They won't take the time to step back and address what they've learned. There will just be an awful lot of emotional response, understandably, but as a result they come out of it worse off, and then they make the same mistakes again and again and again, ad infinitum, just because they've not learned. And this is both men and women. Think about the number of guys who do silly shit to ruin relationships and then do the same thing again the next time, or the number of girls that will always go for guys that are seemingly fairly obviously harmful to them in one way or another, and their emotional state of mind has put them into a different space, and so they're not seeing it clearly, and they're not listening to the information that other people are providing. And as a result, it allows for that kind of slip and that movement into that kind of cyclical pattern. But, as said, that's the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, at least in part, for the next, for probably the next long while. As I said, this is both a huge topic, as well as it having lots of simple bits and lots of really painfully hard bits. So, yeah, that's what we're getting into. I just wanted to make this video just to add those little kind of definitions and why I'm going to be addressing this stuff, because I realise that there are an awful lot of people out there to one degree or another that will give you advice on these things, that will talk about these things, but the beauty of having a coach involved in this is that they are so separate from you. They are so objective in what they are doing and saying, and yet they still have a wealth of information and tools and experience that they can put forward to you, that it allows that awareness of your situation and allows that learning to happen, so that then you end up improving yourself. It does not on the coach, it's on you, but it's just, you can't climb the mountain without knowing where the mountain is. But anyway, tell me, guys, your experience of relationships. What should I be addressing in these? Drop it down in the comments there, and I will go through it, and I'll see what I can do for you guys, along with all of the other topics that I'm going to be doing anyway. It's a new year, and we're going to be doing, it's New Year. Nobody wanted to be alone over Christmas and New Year's, I'm sure, or at least very few of you. And as a result, now we're into the new year. If there's ever a time to start looking for new relationships, new interactions, and new experiences, now is probably the time. So drop me what you guys want to see, and what you'd like me to talk about, and the stuff that you'd like me to go into, and I'll take a look at it. Maybe some of the stuff that you're already talking about will already be covered. Some stuff might spring out of me, and it'll give me a whole new string of stuff to do for you guys. But otherwise, if you found this, or if you like the idea of me going into this and talking about this more, if you find that interesting at all, please drop me a like, and otherwise please subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next video tomorrow, guys. Take care.